Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. Support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. If you would like to send me a couple of bucks that way, I would be appreciative. I'm also on Cash App and Venmo at The Joey Harris. And of course, patreon.com/babykangaroomedia for bonus episodes of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, the Joey Harris Super Show, the Green Room, the Book Club Baristas, and so much more. Just $5 a month for hours of extra content. And folks, back again right here at the top, I want to send out some condolences that we lost wrestler Ricky Romero Jr. in the past few days, as well as just the senseless tragedy of the loss of Rob and Michelle Reiner. There's just nothing that you can say at this point, folks. We're not going to get into all the senseless things that happened, but just our deepest thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to their friends and fans and family for all three of those people. As today we take a look at NXT Takeover London from the WWE. Takeover London was shown on the WWE Network on December the 16th, 2015 from the SSE Arena in London, England. There were 10,079 in attendance. We start out with our intro. Triple H is in the ring to welcome us to Takeover London. We then get our Takeover intro. Corey Graves, Rich Brennan, and Byron Saxton welcome us to Takeover. Asuka versus Emma with Dana Brooke. Asuka is intense. The bell rings and Emma tries to avoid Asuka. They trade holds and counters. Emma avoids a drop kick. Asuka with a hammerlock. Emma reverses it. Back and forth. Asuka gets the armbar on. Emma finally gets to the ropes. Emma goes outside and Asuka hits a running butt bump to the outside. Emma comes back. She kicks Asuka down in the corner. She gets a 2 count. Emma with a double arm lock on Asuka. Emma ties Asuka up in the ropes. She gets another 2 count. Emma with a full Nelson throw to Asuka. Asuka with some back elbows and a backslide for a 2 count. Emma with a clothesline for a 2 count. Emma with a corner whip, a second one to Asuka. Emma slaps Asuka. Asuka with a missile drop kick. A double count is going. Both get to their knees at 7. Asuka with a series of kicks and strikes. Emma with a cover for a 2 count. Asuka with a running hip attack for a 2 count. Emma gets the tarantula on Asuka. She hits a butterfly suplex and a running charge for a pair of 2 counts. Emma rubs Asuka's face into the mat. Asuka gets the ankle lock on, into a German suplex and a running knee for a 2 count. Emma fights the Asuka lock being put on. Emma drives Asuka into the referee. Emma and Asuka fight over a foreign object. The referee sees it, and when he's arguing with Asuka, Emma tries to get a roll up. Asuka quickly counters with the Asuka lock, but Brooke gets up on the apron to distract the referee. The referee then throws Brooke out, but misses seeing Emma tap. Emma grabs the object and goes to hit Asuka, but gets taken out by a roundhouse kick from Asuka as Asuka gets the pin. UK legend Johnny Saint is shown in the crowd. Finn Balor and Samoa Joe are shown arriving at the building. Flashback to what led to the next match. NXT Tag Team Championship match. Dash and Dawson versus Enzo and Big Cass with Carmella. Enzo and Cass do their entrance and they are incredibly popular with the crowd. Dash and Dawson are intense coming to the ring. Dawson and Enzo start and vie for position. They drive to the ropes and break. Another lock up and break. Dawson with a side headlock. Enzo pushes to off. And Dawson comes back with a shoulder block. Wilder tagged in. He and Enzo trade shots. Enzo comes back and trips Wilder. Cass tagged in. He beats Wilder down in the corner. Enzo back in. Back and forth. It goes outside. Wilder hits the ring post when Enzo ducks the clothesline. Cass back in. He keeps the assault up. Cass misses a corner splash when Wilder moves. Dash and Dawson double team Cass in the corner. Cass comes back and takes out the tag champs. He throws Enzo on them on the outside. Dash throws Enzo out after tagging in. He gets back in at 9. Dawson in and beats Enzo down. He gets a Northern Lights suplex for a 2 count. Dash with an armbar on Enzo. Dawson tagged in and continues the beatdown. Enzo caught up in the ropes. Dawson gets a 2 count. Dawson picks up the armbar. Enzo hits a knee lift. Dash tagged in, but they wasted time after a gourd buster and can't get the pin. Enzo hits a DDT and Cass tagged in and unloads on Dawson. He hits a tilt-a-whirl slam, but Dash breaks up the pin. Dawson clips the back knee of Cass. Wilder with a reverse figure 4. Cass gets to the ropes. Dawson goes up top, but gets pushed off by Enzo. Cass gets a roll-up for a 2 count. Cass hits a big boot, tags Enzo in, and Enzo hits a splash. Dawson breaks up the count. It goes outside and Cass is run into the ring post. Dash and Dawson hit the shatter machine to get the pin. Bayley is shown arriving at the venue. We then get a Nia Jax vignette. Flashback to what led to the next match, Baron Corbin versus Apollo Crews. Crews comes to the ring looking all business. The bell rings and they lock up and break. Crews picks Corbin up and runs him into a corner. Back and forth. Corbin runs Crews into a corner. They trade moves. Crews with a drop kick. Crews backdropped out of the ring and crashes into the ring steps. Corbin taunts Crews. Crews gets in and Corbin throws him back out and taunts Crews some more. Corbin gets Crews down and beats Crews in the corner. Corbin with a running boot. He continues the beatdown. The crowd gets on Corbin with chants big time. Crews gets a small package for a 2 count. Corbin gets a backbreaker and keeps Crews in the move. Crews slips out of a move and throws Corbin out. Crews gets a double leg to take Corbin down. Corbin goes outside to regroup. Crews hits a moonsault off the apron. Crews with a pair of clotheslines to Corbin. Corbin comes back with a deep 6 for a 2 count. Crews with an enziguri out of an in the days attempt. Crews with a standing moonsault to get a 2 count. Crews goes for a powerbomb, but Corbin grabs the ropes and hits the end of days to get the pin. We get a Sami Zayn vignette. Greg Hamilton talks to Nia Jax. Jax starts talking about Bayley and Asuka shows up. They stare at each other until Asuka leaves. Jax then says she's going to destroy Bayley. A vignette on Bayley. NXT Women's Championship match. Bayley versus Nia Jax. Jax out first to a chorus of boos. Bayley out to a fantastic ovation. The introductions are made and the belt is presented. The bell rings and Bayley avoids Jax as the crowd sings to Bayley. Jax throws Bayley into a corner. Bayley comes back with forearm strikes. She hits several back elbows. Jax hits a headbutt. Jax hits a shoulder breaker. She ragdolls Bayley around. Bayley gets out and attempts a comeback, but gets ran into a ring post by Jax. Bayley with a series of back elbows and a drop kick. Bayley with a top rope flying back elbow and a second one. Jax spikes Bayley down. Bayley with a leg scissors. Jax puts Bayley on the top rope. Bayley pushes Jax off. Bayley hits a splash, but Jax kicks out so hard that Bayley falls to the outside. Jax with a Samoan drop for a 2 count. She hits several Samoan drops, but she can't get the pin. Jax with a corner splash. Bayley was thrown down by Jax. Jax with a series of leg drops for another 2 count. Bayley won't give up. Jax stalks Bayley. Jax with a corner splash. Bayley put on the top rope. Bayley gets a guillotine choke on. Jax slams Bayley down. Bayley goes back to the choke. Jax slams Bayley down again. Bayley again goes back to the choke. Jax goes down and fights it. Jax finally taps. That was an amazing match. Flashback to what has gone down between Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. NXT Championship match. Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe. Joe out first. Balor out in his demon persona. His entrance goes on for a while. The introductions are made and the belt is presented. The bell rings and they circle each other. Dueling chants go out. They both look for advantages. Balor with a drop kick to Joe. It goes outside. Balor beats on Joe. He kicks Joe into the ring steps. Balor goes to stomp Joe on the steps, but Joe moves. Joe attacks Balor. Joe beats Balor down in the corner. They chop each other. Joe with an enziguri to Balor. They trade forearm shots. Joe slams Balor down for a 2 count. Joe with a knee drop for a 2 count. Joe with a running kick to Balor in the corner. Joe continues the assault. Joe with another running kick, but misses the senton when Balor moves. Joe chops Balor on the apron and hits Balor with a suicide dive to the outside. He gets a 2 count. Joe with a series of knee lifts to Balor. Joe with the Boston Crab into a crossface to Balor. Balor manages to get to the ropes. Balor gets a DDT on Joe. Balor comes back with chops. Balor with a running chop. Joe with a back elbow to Balor. Balor with an enziguri and a plancha onto Joe. Balor with a double stomp to Joe for a 2 count. Balor with a sling blade. Joe avoids the coup de grace and hits a senton. Balor fights out of a muscle buster attempt to get a 2 count. Balor hits a Pele kick. A double count is going both up and exchanging blows. They both have moves and counters. Joe puts the coquina clutch on. Balor gets out and we get another double count. Balor hits a sling blade and a drop kick. Another drop kick to Joe. Balor goes up top, but gets caught. Joe with an enziguri. Balor chops Joe off and hits the coup de grace to get the pin. That was an incredible match. They highlight some moments from the match, and Balor celebrates as they sign off from London. Final thoughts. An incredible show that is well worth the watch. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at @TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.